Okay, here we go. See how everything works here? That's good. Okay, so today I want to talk about the chances. The chances of the haplogroups of the 16 grandsons of Noah fitting so well, so perfectly, as far as I can see, it fits perfectly with everything. Especially, um, well, just everything. But it started out with the. Let me just go to the thing so I can show. Let me see. Where I go? Share screen. Okay, share screen. Yeah, let's go to the world map, DNA world map, and starting with here. Now, what are the chances that the human haplogroups are going to be divided? They're going to be divided into three groups. You have the A, B, C, D, and E, right? Then they're trying to connect an F with an F. They're trying to say this F produced this F over here, but that's a stretch. I mean, that's just their out of Africa stretch. But then you have F, G, H, I, and J. Same thing again over here. They're trying to connect this group with this group over here. So then you have the K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. T's here somewhere. Oh, and a new finding was that the L and the T seem to be isolated from the rest of the K group. So you have K, L, and T together in one lineage, and then you have these other lineages branching off from K. But back to the point being that you have, what are the chances that A, B, C, D, and E are all in Africa, pretty much? I mean, with the exception of D and C, which is we'll get into. And then F, G, H, I, and J are all in the Middle East, basically, except for the I, which goes up into Mediterranean and up into Europe, which we can get into as well. And the K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T are all everywhere else, north, west, and east. What are the chances that these would fit so well with 16 grandsons of Noah? Of course, being Cush, Put, Canaan, and Mitzrayim. And you have Arpachshad, Elam, Asher, Aram, and Lud, both being F. There's two F's groups. Then you have the K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. Like I said, LT is a split closely associated with each other, even though they're not the same. I mean, they're in the same area, but they're not the same lineage. They're two different lineages. But they're both Greek. They're both Greek, so there's that. Then the N and the O are sort of together. Then you have the M and the S. They're both in Papua New Guinea. And then you have the P and the Q, and then you have the R. So there's a PQ lineage, and then there's an R lineage which are separate, because the Q lineage is separate from the R lineage. So let's get into it. What are the chances what are the chances of having in the Middle East, basically, and of course this is just the places where they are today, the heaviest concentrations. So, but it doesn't mean that this is only J2 or this is only Q2 or this is only D or this is only RA and this is only RA up here. It doesn't mean that. It just means that the majority of the population in this group are made up of these haplogroups. And it even says here J1 P58 Middle Eastern Semitic. So it's already identifying the J woman as being Semitic, probably because of the co-modal haplotype, which is J1P58, which is the co-modal haplotype identifying the lineage of the Semitic lineage. But what are the chances are these all fit together so well? For example, Elam is right in this area. We know where Elam was, right here, right? And we know that the Dravidians say they were quote-unquote Arabic who came from Arabic populations, right? What are the chances that this H lineage, which belongs to the Semitic lineage, as we identified earlier, that this would be linking the exact haplogroup of this Elamite population here as Elamo-Dravidian. And we have down here, Dravidian is H, right? So this Dravidian is the exact descendants of Elam. The exact lineage, the paternal lineage, which is father to son, all the way down to the Dravidians today, are descended from Elam. What are the chances that even in a map, looking at a map today, you can see the relationship between the Elamites and the Dravidians? And of course, there's known connections. There's known historical ties. And a lot of people get confused with the J2 here, J2M172, because of course Israel was expelled from Israel many times to the north. So that's why J2, which is Semitic, right? Because J158 is Middle Eastern Semitic, so J2 is Semitic as well. They just call it Middle Eastern. But J2 is a very large population up in this area where the Israelites were scattered. So J2 is composed of several lineages, one of which is M172, which I believe to be the descendants of David and Solomon, because there's actually two divisions of that. I don't know which is which yet, but we can get into it, learn about it if we have time or care to find out. But what are the chances of all these fitting together so well? Here we go. Egyptian is E3. E3 that would be Mitzrayim. If it's Egyptian, it's Mitzrayim, right? Over here, across the way, you have V13. This is V12 here. Across the Mediterranean is a branch from the same lineage as V13. Across the way here in Greece somewhere. And of course, what are the chances? Of course, you have the A and the B. The A and the B are a single lineage, but then you have the C. Well, where's the C? Anybody know where the C is? Where's the C? You have A, B, C, D, and E. Where's the D and the C? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, the C and the D, they're not in Africa. Oh, here's a C out here. Here's a C out here in, not too far from Mesopotamia. Look at that. Oh, and the D over here. The D over here is, Sino, yeah. Sino-Tibetan. Tibetan-Burman. D haplogroup. Oh, that would be, Sino means the land of Sinim, right, in the Bible? And Sinim is a tribe, the same tribe that Sinai gets its name from. Sinai Peninsula, the land of Sinim. Well, they named this Sinai, but the land of Sin is more in Arabia, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, yeah, so we have a D haplogroup that is linked to the tribe of Sin here. Sinim, which is in the Bible is China, Sinim. They will come from as far as the land of Sinim. That's right there. But what are the chances of this C haplogroup, which is not just here, it's in Europe, it's found in Europe, especially in antiquity. I mean, and it's found all over the world except for Africa. Never went to Africa. The C never went to Africa, and the D basically never did either, although there's some D in Africa. But the C, there's basically non-existent in Africa. But what are the chances that there would be a lineage that would fit perfectly with the house of Nimrod, who is the son of Cush? What are the chances of that? Of course, we know Cush, right? Where's Cush? There's Cushitic here, but they have it listed as E, but Cush isn't E. Cush is A and B. Cush is A and B, which is not too far away, obviously. A and B and C is Cush, right? C being the son of Cush, who is Nimrod. A very significant descendant of Cush in the area, of course, Mesopotamia and in the east, and even in Europe. In ancient times, there's a C1 in Europe. There's of course, there's a C2. There's even a C5, but there's a C2 down here. And there's a C4. Here's the C2. And there's a C4. And there's a C3. The C2 goes over here. Oops. Do I do that? C2 goes here, Polynesian. And it goes all the way throughout the Pacific. And in America, it's C3. So it had to have been a significant ancestor. And what more significant ancestor is there? Single ancestor. Of course, he's the great-grandson of Noah. Nimrod be the great-grandson of Noah, being the son of Cush, who is the grandson of Noah. So, but it would have to have been a significant person named Nimrod and the house of Nimrod. Of course, Nimrod, we know, was in ancient Babylonia, because they were like the ruling class of the Assyrians. The Bible links Assyria with Nimrod. as being the same group. So, but what are the chances of that? You have the tribe of Sinim here in China, and Sinim is D, which is compatible not with C, not with the C lineage, because it's the C lineage is separate, but it is compatible with the E2 lineage, which you're probably not going to see here. E2, oh, there's an E2 right here, yeah. But this E2 lineage would be what remains of the Canaanite lineage, which you're not going to find a whole lot of E2 left. There's some here in Africa, and there might be some up in Anatolia somewhere, but you're not going to find a whole lot of it. But this D is closely associated with the E2. Actually, the E1, 2, and 3, but we have to decide whether or not the E2 would be Canaan or the E1. The E1 here is probably descendants of Put, because they originally were in North Africa, and this E1 here is probably descendants of Put, which were the namesake of the Phoenicians, the original first Phoenicians described by Josephus in North Africa. And of course, it's apparent that they were pushed farther to the west by Mitzrayim, which is E3. So the Berbers are Mitzrayim still, E3. V12 is E3. And these here down here, this V32 is E3. But the Cushites are not E. The Cushites are A, B, and C. D is compatible with E and not C. As you can see, because C has a S&P marker, has an S&P marker that the D does not have, and the F and the G do have. So the D is not under C. The D is under E. And they call it the CF marker, because the F has the marker and the C has the marker, but the D and the E do not have it. So they call it the CF marker X the D and the E. But their idea is that this imaginary dotted line is the route that it took for the F lineage to go over to here and produce the K lineage. And the K lineage, of course, is the but the thing to understand is that it's not that one produced the other. It's that they both have common ancestor. Okay, the idea is the Y chromosomal atom, and they root the tree in A, and they want to say that the root is in A, but Ham is the younger son, so the root can't be in A if he's the younger son. So it's A, B, and C are connected. We can see in other charts that they're connected. The D and the E are not connected to C. But the idea is that with a CF marker, they're trying to say C produced F. But it's not that C produced F, it's that C has a common ancestor with F, and shares a marker with F because of the common ancestor that they both have. C being the oldest of the lineage, or at least the lineage that retained the marker. And the same thing over here with the IJ. They have an IJK marker that the IJ and the K have, but the H doesn't have and the G doesn't have. So they're trying to say the IJ produced K, but that's not the case. The IJ shares a marker with K because I and J have a common ancestor with K. It's that simple. And that's how they fit so perfectly together. Because when we go over here into Europe, we have a history of the son of Gomer. We know that Gomer went into Europe. We have all kinds of records of Gomer going into Europe. And we know that Ashkenaz was in this area here of Northern Europe with the R1A. And we know that Ribfath with the R1B went into Southern Europe. So all this R1B is in Southern Europe. And of course, it's all throughout the area. But like I said, they're only showing the main ones in the area. But the R1B is Southern Europe, which is Ribfath. We know Ribfath, his descendants went to Southern Europe. We know that R1A is Ashkenaz because, of course, the Ashkenazi Jews are named themselves after or as being in the land of Ashkenaz. They're Jews in the land of Ashkenaz, so they are called Ashkenazi Jews. What are the chances that it would fit so well? And again, with the C haplogroup, and again, with the Israelites being pushed into the north, and again, with the J1 P58 co-modal haplotype. And of course, this J1 P58 haplotype is from the tribe of Levi. But then this is J1E. There's other lineages of J1 which are either Arabic or Israelite or maybe something else. And even the J2 is split up in different lineages. One of them, the largest one, being M172, which I believe is the descendants of David and King Solomon, because it's the largest. Same way, the house of Nimrod is this C. And whenever a population is removed from its origin, they, of course, sign it a different letter. That's why C is assigned a different, well, it's A, B, and C, which is coherent, makes sense. But the D is assigned a different letter from E because it's from E. But the thing is that it seems to me they assigned this as being D because of the similarity with C, except that it's not even the same. They're not even the same lineage together, because C has the CF marker that the D and the E don't have. So the D and the E don't have it, so D is more closely associated with the E than it is the C. And it makes sense when E2 is identified as the descendants of Canaan. It makes sense. So then you can have the son of Canaan, which is Sin, with a tribe of Sinim, being the Sino-Tibetan D1 and D3, etc. And of course, they went all the way this D. The D went all the way to Japan, where you have the Ainu Japanese, Jomons. They're descendants of the tribe of Sinim, the son, or the Canaanite tribe, the son of Canaan, which makes so much sense. So what are the chances of that all fitting together so well? And of course, if anybody has anything else to say, that would be interesting too. But look at this here, this Q. I saw a video that Matman made one time, and he said, "Oh, the Medes went up into Europe." And so I'm, I'm wondering. So I had to go check real quick to see if the Q was there in Europe, and sure enough, there it was, right where the Medes are said to have been in Europe, which is in this area here. Still there to this day. Same thing with the K haplogroup that I had assigned as Tubal. I had heard that Tubal went to Italy, so I had to go check Italy to see if the K was there, and sure enough, 8% of central Italy today has the K haplogroup of the original people that went to Italy as, the ones that are descended from Tubal. So what are the chances of this fitting so perfectly? What are the chances? And of course, you have O being Magog. Of course, Magog moved from this area over here, moved east. And then Meshach, which would be the N haplogroup, moved up north. So it's the N and the O. The N and the O are two separate lineages which line perfectly with Meshach. Of course, it goes all the way over into Moscow or Russia. So, and it actually goes all the way into Europe, Northern Europe here too. But that'd be Meshach, and then the O has to be Magog, right? And the K being Tubal. It fits so well. It's really amazing how it fits so well. And of course, the M and the S are very closely associated with the only other Eurasian haplogroup in the area, which is K. And you look at the charts, and K and M and the S have the same origin. And of course, M has the same origin as the S, except that they separated so far back, they assigned them different letters because of how far back they separated. And from the K too, which is Tubal. But they're still descendants of Tubal, just the same. So it's really interesting. You have Micronesian is K and O, Melanesian, which is M and K, and you have Polynesian, which is C. And of course, they all have C as well, which is the descendants of Nimrod. And even the Maori, New Zealand. So, but what are the chances of everything fitting so well? And here's another thing. Remember the Denisova Cave? Where's the Denisova Cave? It's way, way up here, right? It's way up here, the Denisova Cave. Now, how can you have a mix of Hamitic and Eurasian, which is what Denisovan is, a mix of Eurasian and Hamitic? How can you have that kind of mixture up in the Altai Mountains? Oh, look, what's this? You have the C and a D, both of which are Hamitic in the area of Asia, which is Eurasian. Okay, so that explains that. And today, the people most resembling Denisovan DNA are Papua New Guineans and people in, like, say, the Philippines here. They call them Negritos. And it's not necessarily a bad term. It's an affectionate term if you are an affectionate person. But anyway, that explains everything so well. And you could go on and on and on and on. The Greek Sea people had trade with the Horn of Africa. Look what we have here in the Horn of Africa. What's that? That's the descendants of Javan, which are Elisha, Dodanim, Kittim, and Tarshish, which are all Mediterranean sea people that had trade with the Horn of Africa. The Greeks in the Horn of Africa, represented by the descendants of Javan. Now, how's that? That works so well, so perfect. Now, what are the chances of all these things being so right? What are the chances? And the interesting thing, you can see where they migrated to from their original place. For example, the Egyptian Mitzrayim had many, 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 many sons, which spread out and became the Berbers, the Egyptians, and even down here in the Horn of Africa. It's labeled here as Cushite, but Cushites are not E. The Cushites are A and B and C. C is a Cushite too because Nimrod is the son of Cush. That means it's Cushite. So it's the Cushites up in the Altai Mountains, along with the tribe of Sin was there as well. The Sinim, the tribe of Sinim, is there as well. Way, way up north. This is way up north. This is the Altai Mountains, way up north, right? And you have way up north, you have the C and the D, which are both Hamitic. C being descendant of Cush, D being descendant of Canaan. Both of them Hamitic in the Altai Mountains, way, way up north. Now, how did that happen? Anyways, I guess that's enough for me going on and on about it. We have David, USA. We have Dana. Okay, if it can help locate, let me see. Let's see. Hope I don't have problems. If it can help locate YAP-DE haplotype carrying. What is YAP? YAP is the DE, means the XDE, means that they don't have the CF marker. Forget exactly what the YAP means, but the D and the E don't have the CF marker, which the C does have and the D and E don't have. But it's a marker that links the descendants of Nimrod with the Semitic and the Eurasian descendants because they have the same common ancestor. And the C descendants retain the marker while the D and the E do not retain the marker, nor does the A and the B retain the marker. So the only one that has the marker is the C, or the CF marker is the C, and the F, which is F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. Now they're trying to use this and say it's out of Africa, but it's not out of Africa. All it is that they both lineages have the same common ancestor. Okay, that's David. Okay, C and F. Considering also Hamitic oranges. F is not Hamitic. F is Semitic. It belongs to, it's a totally separate group, as we could see if we look at some more charts. There's data. See, I have a question for you. If you say I1B is a tribe of Dan, just I1. It's I1A and B, and there's a whole bunch of them. It's I'm I1A, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's I1M253, but there's like 7 I1 lineages. Is it possible all descendants of Semitic origins, particularly tribes of Israel, and the descendants of I? Well, Dan is a son of Israel. All the descendants Semitic origin, particularly the tribe of Israel, descended from I. Uh, I don't really think that they all went into Europe. I mean, if they did, they did, and maybe some of the lineages are of Israel. I mean, I suppose it's a possibility, but it's not. I mean, it is a large population, but it's not as I1 is not as big as I2, which is more characteristic of the tribe of Asher. But that's a good question. It's worthy of consideration. Maybe I1 is still some of the supposed lost tribes of Israel, but Dan was the first one to leave, and Asher. Dan and Asher were the first ones to leave, so that's why I assigned them as being the tribe of Dan. Because most people believe Abraham was J2, and all of the J2 descendants are J1. Well, the descendants of Abraham would be J, I, and J. Both I and J has to accompany pretty much all the Hebrews and Arabs, Israelites, and Jews. It would be the IJ lineage, which is together, it's one lineage, IJ. Most people believe Abraham was J2, and mostly all Israel are J2 descendants or J1. Right, with the exception of Dan and Asher. And J2 has multiple lineages as well. The M172 is not the only J2 lineage. There's a number of other ones besides the M172. See, therefore, if J's are the son of Jacob, all the tribes of Israel come from the J's. Y DNA. Well, see, that's the thing, is that J1 is Arabic too. J1, and whenever, like I said, whenever a population is removed, far removed, they end up assigning it a different letter for whatever reason. It turns out that way or whatever, because they're so far apart, they have them named with a different letter designation. So that's the I1 and the I2 in Europe are so far removed from the J's, they have their own letter designation. So, because J can't be the sons of Jacob, because Jacob is not the father of the Arabic people who are also J1. So they have a common ancestor, which is Abraham. The Arabic people have a common ancestor with Israel. So that's the reason why they're J1 too, because their common ancestor is Abraham. So The common ancestor of Arabic people and Jewish people, Israelite people, Danite people is Abraham. Okay, Phi1b1 or E1b, 1b, and R1s, A and B are not Jewish, but converts, right? If they're in the Jewish population, yeah, if they're in the Jewish population, they become Jews, even autosomally and genetically, they become Jews, even though they're descended from Ashkenaz, Riphath, or Mitzrayim, or even maybe Canaan, but being in the Jewish population, they are just as Jewish as anybody else, even though they came from outside. For example, when in the book of Esther, when the Medes became converts, that's the reason why the Jewish population has a Q in the population, because the Q is the descendants of Madai, who's the ancestor of the Medes. So when the Medes and the Persians in the book of Esther, they became Jews, that's why the Q is in the Jewish population. Going way, way, way back, way back. The G is in the Jewish population too. Of course, G being Assyria when the Jews went to experience, Israelites and Jews went to Assyria. The Assyrians have a G haplogroup. That's why the Jews have a G in their population. They have a T too, T as well because of the Mediterranean. But it's only the Portuguese Jews that have the T because of the relationship and proximity to the descendants of Tarshish in Iberia. That's why the Jewish people have some of the Jews, not even all of them. Some of the Jewish populations don't have the T, but there is a population in Portugal that has the T, and it's basically the only Jewish population that does have the T. For all intents and purposes, the major group that has the T haplogroup is the Portuguese community, which is closely associated with the group, the Tarshish group, which is a descendant of Javan. That's why it's a T. That's why the Jewish people have a T in their population. Like, how can this fit? How can this all fit so well? It fits. What are the coincidences? What's the chances of everything fitting so well? It's just, it's amazing how well it fits. I'm surprised every time I look at it. I heard people say J's Abrahamic lineage, J2, and all the rest of the sons of Jacob should be all J descendants, except that I branches off from the J lineage. The I lineage branches off from the J lineage. And the tribe of Dan and tribe of Asher were seafaring Mediterranean people. And there's more to the story. They went as far as America too, but that's another story. But it still belongs to still branches off from the J lineage. So of course the I didn't produce the J lineage because it branches off from the J lineage. Dan was a son of Bilhah, Rachel's handmaid. Rachel's husband, Jacob's son. Yes. Sounds right. Okay. The largest Y chromosome Israeli Jewish populations are J, yeah, over 50%. Then 30% comes E, which is Mitzrayim or Canaan. And then the rest is R1b. Yeah, small molecule haplotypes. So that means other remnants of J's are not Jews. So it means other remnants of Jays are no others. The Jays, J2 especially, is Judaic. You want to know what's Judaic? Probably J2 is Judaic and Israelite, but especially the M172 lineage is Judaic because it's probably the house of David and Solomon. So this is not standard. 30% comes from E, and then the rest R1Bs, R1A, R1B, and the small molecule haplotypes. So that means the other remnants of J's are not Jews. Well, there's some J1 lineages aren't Jew, they're Arabic. So Leah and Rachel were first cousins of Jacob on Rebekah's side, his mother. Of course, Rachel and Leah were sisters, first cousins of Jacob on Rebekah's side, his mother, yeah. So the Bible teaches who is not a Jew. Yeah, there's the so-called Jews who claim to be Jews who are not Jews, but it could be interpreted two ways, I suppose. But when somebody, like, let's say the Medes or the Assyrians became Jews, part of the Jewish population, their descendants would become Jewish by way of autosomally. Their descendants would become Jewish autosomally because they'd be descended from all the rest of Israel. So they're more genetically Israel than they are the original haplogroup, if that makes any sense. So the Q is only the origin, way back, their ancestor way back. But just because they have a Q haplogroup doesn't mean they're not Jewish, because after thousands of years, they're just as Jewish as anybody else, if that makes sense, because their original ancestors so far back in the lineage that it's not going to make all that much difference genetically, autosomally. It's not going to be that much different. See, a Jew, Roman. He is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and the circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not the letter, whose praise is not of men but of God. That's very correct. That's the spiritual significance of who is a Jew. And of course, we evangelical Christians in America need to understand that our faith is a Jewish faith, and that when we believe in the God of Israel, we are joined to Israel. We're grafted into the Israel of God. We become Jews or Jewish, but not necessarily autosomally, but after the heart, the circumcision of the heart in the spirit, not the letter, whose praise is not of men but of God. Very good point. And with that, we can go ahead and end, because I have to get going maybe here in a little bit. And it's been a good live stream. So God bless everybody. It's just amazing to me how well everything fits for the 16 grandsons of Noah. They have the 16 grandsons of Noah being all the haplogroup designations of the world. So there we go. It's been good. God bless everybody. Take care. Have a great week, rest of the week, and hope to see you soon.